is July 29th, 7 p.m., a little after. We're having a big rainstorm, so thank you everybody who is here and present. We'll begin the meeting. We will call the meeting to order, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin, as you may notice, we don't have any of our administrators here tonight because of the nature of our closed session. So we will have to appoint a temporary secretary for tonight's minutes. And let me get my glasses. It is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Adi Nikotinsky as temporary board secretary for this meeting in accordance with NJSA 18A:16-1.1. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Oh, second.
Mr. Nikotinsky, write that down. The motion is Ms. Belko, second is Mr. Chiarella. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Recusals or any other reason? No. Okay, thank you very much all. Mr. Nikotinsky, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Ms. Belko?
Yes.
Ms. Bierman?
Here.
Mr. Chiarella?
Here.
I'm here. Mr. Pelori?
I'm here.
Mr. Rutsky?
Yes.
Ms. Siegel?
Here.
Ms. Skirby?
Here.
And Mr. Tefano.
Okay. Do you have the statement, Mr. Nikotinsky?
Yes. In accordance with the provisions of New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused a notice of this meeting to be published, and an electronic notice provided by having the date, time, and place therefore posted July 27, 2021, at all schools on the district website, www.monroe.k12.nj.us, Home News Tribune, Asbury Park Press, and filed with the clerk of municipality.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Because this is a public meeting, we will have our public forum in the beginning on agenda items. Then we will go in, just to let everyone know, we will go into we have one motion for a vote tonight, and then we will go into closed session resolution. I'll explain that as we go further. So I would like to open the meeting to the public forum. If you'll please come and state your name, address, and you have 4 minutes. Mr. Nikotinsky, will you be able to do that? 4 minutes?
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. Good evening. Appreciate all the BOA members in this, thunderstorm attending the meeting. Really appreciate that. I know that the search process you all are going to talk today, so I'm seeking the input at least from the public before you start the closed session today. Our request is please have interim acting superintendent immediately so that the schools, from November onwards, so we can have transition as well as November onward, the interim superintendent can take place and support the referendum. In the meanwhile, don't wait, as we do in the industry, announce publicly internal as well as external search together. Give opportunity for the internal people to compete and external people to compete, and let us be a good competition. Being just a principal and just climbing to superintendent is difficult because our district is very big. We have $145 million budget, and we have diversity, and we need for special education, diversity, STEM programs, sports, and all. So this is a diverse population. So we need a very good superintendent who can work with the Board of Education. So this is the request. Another one thing is, in past we had closed session interviews. Let us have open public, interview the candidate in public I have seen happening in other districts, but I'm not expert on that. I don't know whether public can ask questions also, but have an open session. So these are my requests, personal requests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash.
Good evening, Doug Coy for Tamarack Road. I commend you for moving so quickly on searching for a new superintendent, but I would like if you could provide some information on why the discussion, particularly this first discussion among yourselves, requires that the board go into closed session.
Well, we were advised by our attorney that it's a personnel issue and we would need to go into closed session for that.
But will you be discussing personnel, actual individuals?
We will be discussing, as far as I'm aware, we'll have our attorney present via telephone, and we will be discussing positions and a way forward, and we will have some attorney-client privilege, which I'm going to read during the resolution.
Because I would think if you're not discussing specific individuals, then the discussion should be open to the public. And I know this board, and particularly its president,
Yes.
has been very, very strong in advocating for transparency. So I just say that I think it raises a question as to why this particular first discussion is in closed session. I did contact the School Ethics Commission today, as well as the New Jersey School Boards Association, to get their perspective on the situation. And they said that I should certainly raise that question with the attorney present. Unfortunately, that attorney is not present. It does not look as if you are set up to accomplish his or her presence, for the purposes of the public to hear his opinion. So once again, I stress that you be particularly careful in what you discuss tonight in closed session. A second question I have is if there are members of the board who are close friends with any internal candidates for the superintendent's position, should those members participate in the discussion?
You're asking me specifically, Mr. Poit?
Well, yes.
Okay, well, I don't think I have the authority to make that decision. Certainly, if there's anyone conflicted, then for sure, we should not have anyone involved in that discussion. However, I am not sure about the idiosyncrasies of that, and we will certainly seek our counsel.
Then I would encourage you to ask counsel tonight, when you go into closed session, both of the questions that I have raised.
Okay.
Because I do not believe that this community should have any questions arising over the selection of the next superintendent, which might suggest any form of cronyism. Thank you.
Well, I can only tell you that in the past, I know that there have been very close relationships between board members and previous administrators and previous superintendents. That question hasn't come up in the past, and again, we would have to rely on the Ethics Commission and also any of the conflicted issues that come up. But I certainly agree with your position. But it's interesting that that hasn't come up in the past when there were very, very close long-term personal relationships with superintendents in the past.
And I would just simply suggest that the sins of the past should not excuse any sins of the future.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
we'll make sure we don't sin, sir.
Brian Fabiano. I don't want to
Mr.
close this
Fabiano.
thing. Brian Fabiano, 19 Patricia Place.
Thank you.
You're just embarking on the superintendent search. We're a week into this. Let's not be guided by already the conspiracy theories. We pay money for an attorney. Let the attorney guide us on what the appropriate action is for your first meeting. In the start of a process, you don't know if you're going to touch on something that may be a personnel issue, maybe something that you shouldn't say in a public session. So I trust this board that this isn't something that you guys are doing purposefully to shield from us. But I think it's a good start, and I trust that you will be transparent through this process. But let's not be guided, out of the gate here by conspiracy theories. The thing I thought about a lot since, we heard Dr. Alvick's resignation or retirement that I wanted to talk to you guys about is, let's not overthink the process. You have a lot of diverse backgrounds here, a lot of smart people here. We've been here before. We've looked for superintendents. I assume there'll be an interim. But before we jump into costly searches with executive firms and things that are going to cost us taxpayers, let's look at all of our options. Are we posting the position? Are we getting people to apply to the position? I know that a lot of times we like to jump to these very expensive executive search firms. Is that necessary? So I hope that you guys will keep all of your options open, which I'm sure you will. And I think as you look at candidates, you need to look at just more than their titles. I think sometimes we get hung up on, are they a doctor? How many master's degrees do they have? But if someone has been in a district that's a lot like ours, as diverse as ours is, size like Monroe, I think you need to look at candidates like that where in a case maybe they won't have a doctorate or maybe they won't have a master's that matches somebody that that we've had here before. So I think we just have to keep open-minded, and I trust in this board that you will do that because it's a lot more, I think, that we need in this town than just paper degrees. We need someone that understands a town as diverse as us, the problems that we have, where we need to go quickly as it relates to building the schools. And I have trust in this board. We have old board members, new board members. This is a great diverse group, to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fabiano.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
A little louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Gazala Bora, 1 Miko Drive. It's been over a year and a half since I stood here, so it's like deja vu. Before I share my comments on the superintendent search, I would like to say a few words about Dr. Alvich, even though she's not here, in the hopes that she'll probably see the recording someday. I've known Dr. Alvich as an educator, administrator, since my kids started school in this district. And I am really, truly grateful for all the sweat and blood that she's put into our district. And when she became the first woman superintendent in New Jersey, she gave many of us a reason to have that moment of pride and joy because we played a small role in that history. I am sad to see her go, but I wish her well. Anything that I say beyond this point is not going to be reflective on any of the superintendents that we've had and their qualifications. This is my comment as a taxpayer on what the need of the town is right now. And I don't have anything written, so my stats might be a little off, but I'm saying this out of memory, that in the 9 years that I've been involved, we've had 1 redistricting, 2 failed referendums, 3 ad hoc committees, 2 superintendents, 2 interim superintendents, hundreds of children that left the district for private school or better school district because their parents could afford it. We still don't have a solution to our overcrowding problem. There is a reason behind it, and my personal opinion as a taxpayer is that we need somebody at the helm who has experience with problems like this. Monroe is not the first district to go through the challenges that we are going through. There have been other school districts that have grown out of bounds too fast, out of control, with not the money to support it, and they've found solutions. I think we really need to put the time, effort, and money in the search for the superintendent. And by money, I was one of those taxpayers who stood here and criticized this board for spending money on a consultant to help campaign for the first referendum. We paid a decent amount of money to somebody who did not even know that green card holders cannot vote. At that time, I was a big critique. And at this point of time, I will tell you, please, if you need to hire recruiters who will get us the talent, taxpayers' money will go in the right direction for that, because if we get the right person, we will find the solutions. Most of you are in the corporate world, if not all of you, and you know that when a company is on shaky grounds and you recruit the right talent, they bring the company back. And then I think that is what our town needs right now, and we all need to come together for this. I don't think this board is divided, no matter what the town says. I think all of you are doing this, it's time and effort, and it's for your own children and for the children in the district. And I'm sure you guys can all come together in the search for a good superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? No? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Thank you for public comments. The next is the superintendent's report. We would normally not have had anything, but I was advised by the administration that there is a professional development that has come up recently. It's come up after the last meeting, and it is due to, the teachers want to go to it before the following meeting, before next month's meeting. Now, in order for that to occur, the board has to approve the professional development, and there is some policy that it has to be approved before the actual event. There is a caveat that we could have gotten through before next month's meeting, but since we have this opportunity, we're going to take an opportunity to have one resolution voted on this evening. So I wanted the public to be aware of that. That wasn't our intention. It came recently from the administration. They asked us to please put it on the agenda, and we agreed. Mr. Nicotinsky?
Madam President and the members of the Board of Education, it is recommended that the board action item A be approved by consent. Roll call. What was
Okay.
the first motion? Who was the first?
Who was the first motion? I heard you say second.
Motion.
So Karen?
Could you read the resolution, please?
Yes. Now he can, since it's been moved twice. Do we have the
I
resolution?
thought you would read the resolution, then have the first and second.
Okay. The resolution is essentially, it is recommended that the board, it is professional development for, and I do have that. Thought I had it. And I apologize, Mr. Pelori. I was sent it earlier, and I don't know if I,
Madam President,
Yes.
just paraphrase what it is. We're not looking verbatim.
it's for teachers to go to a class for, and I'm sure if we can, if someone, if you have.
I'm unable to get in. I've been.
No, it's not on here, is it?
No, it was in our
No, it's
it
just
was
says
in our
previous.
email.
It was sent to everyone, correct?
Yes.
Previously?
Yes, it was nominal cost.
Okay. Does anybody remember? I'll open
It's
it to.
professional development.
Nancy's gonna bring it to us.
Thank you.
Save the day, Nancy.
Saved by Nancy, not the bell.
Again.
Yes, Nancy saves us a great deal. Nancy's a wonderful staff member, and I thank her very, very much. Okay. And again, this was done last minute, so
I like your picture.
there are 6 professional development classes. One is Shape New Jersey Driver Education Conference. It's a virtual. There's another one, it's a second teacher going to Shape New Jersey Driver Education Conference 2021. Another one is Teaching Fiscal Policy in the COVID Era. It's an online webinar. And that person is going, seems the same person will be going several days. There's a $25 charge, and it seems subsequently there is no charge. Then it's also Next Generation Personal Financing, Banking, and Budgeting online webinar. Nancy, it's personal financing? It says personal financing.
Maybe a course for kids.
Okay,
It's probably for the high school.
Yeah, the
required
freshman.
class.
okay.
It's a required class for the high school.
This is what collaboration looks like, folks. We have everyone contributing to the information, so I thank you very much. And it's, yes, Next Generation. So there are 3 Next Generation personal finance. One is with banking and budgeting, next one is taxes, and next one is career preparedness. So that is one teacher going to that, and that is $0 to the board. to the district. The SHAPE New Jersey Driver Education Conference is $114 for one day. Again, that's virtual. And that's $114 for 2 different teachers. And I believe that's all. I will pass this around if you'd like to see it before we vote. Well, pass it around anyway, because I want everybody to see it. Okay? Would anyone like to see it before the vote?
I'm good. I did my
Okay.
homework before the meeting.
All right, thank you.
We got it in our email.
And I forgot to bring it with me. Mr. Nicotinsky, if you'll please read the roll.
Ms. Belko?
Yes.
Ms. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Pelori?
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky?
Yes.
Ms. Siegel?
Yes.
Ms. Skirby?
Yes.
Mr. Tefano?
Yes.
Madam President?
Yes, and once again, thank you to all of our staff members, especially Nancy Tagliaferro, who pulls us from the abyss. Okay, and that is resolved. Got that? The next order of business is going into closed session. There it is. Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects. No, I'm not done yet. Let me tell you what the following subjects are. Okay. It is not written on the agenda, but as our attorney recommends, the board discussion on the superintendent's search, the matters concerning superintendent's search, including issues covered by the attorney-client privilege. Following closed session, an action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Mr. Tefano, and then Ms. Belko, second. Well, any approved? Shall we approve it? Go into closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Accused? Okay, folks, I don't know how long this is going to take. I would imagine it's going to take at least a half hour to an hour. If it's longer than an hour, we will send someone out to inform the public. And again, action may be taken, or we may reserve action till the next meeting. We can't tell. This is new for us, and we want to make sure we do as extensive of a discussion and get information from our attorney as possible to proceed properly. So I thank you. If you wish to stay, you're certainly welcome. If not, I wish you an easy ride home. Please be careful of the weather. Okay?
That's my bad.
Oops. Thank you for waiting, everyone. We will resume the meeting of tonight's superintendent search discussion. We will be discussing in public our plan when we reach consensus, for sure. So does anybody want to, I will just have to open it for discussion. We don't have a motion on the table at this time, so we will discuss how we want to proceed. Anyone like to start that discussion?
Yeah, I'll start.
Go ahead, Mr. Chiarella.
I think what we have to do is post for, immediately for internal and external candidates, for acting or interim, whatever the full board decides here. And I also think we need an additional posting for the permanent superintendent position, but, so I think we need some parameters set up for that, for the acting interim role as to what we're looking for. Like, we need to make sure that they're certificated, that, you know, things like that.
Okay. Anyone?
So
Mr. Rutsky?
I guess I'm assuming we have somewhere, we have the, maybe it's in policy or what have you, but the job description of what an interim or an acting superintendent would be,
Right.
or from a posting from a couple years ago. So we should be able to work off of that.
We could work off of that, but if we want, if people have specific things tonight, we should sort of mark them down and include that in the job description.
Sure.
And then have that reviewed by our attorney. So we could agree when we get consensus this evening, to post either for acting, for permanent, and/or both. And we can discuss that so the public knows what we're talking about. But then we will cite some parameters tonight, but we will also tell the public that the job description, we could put it on the website once it's reviewed by the attorney. And then, of course, that job description would be advertised for candidates as well. Ms. Skirby?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Chiarella. I think that we should move quickly on posting, definitely for an acting, and posting that for internal and external candidates, and possibly getting that, maybe we set the parameter that they have to reply within 10 to 14 days. This way we can have a discussion as a board in closed session at the August 18th meeting and possibly make a decision that evening.
For both, or just the acting?
For acting, and then also post as well for, permanent. That would obviously take more time.
But you wouldn't want to put parameters on a permanent position for 14 days, right? I mean, we'd let that open. If people came through, if people I'm just.
Oh, yeah, no,
I'm
I
not
think.
setting this, I'm asking a question.
Right, now, my opinion, I think we need to, the 14 days, faster turnaround time, the immediate need would be the acting. The interim, maybe we could, I don't know how long we want to keep that out there for. But I think the immediate need is for an acting.
Mr. Pelori?
Madam President, I recall as a board member, I was told several times by the School Boards Association that the single most important thing as a board member you need to do is selecting a superintendent. And I think we need to be very cautious, very deliberate, very open in doing it. And I certainly hope that you're going to create that kind of a atmosphere to do that so that people can freely speak to their thoughts. A comment that I really would like to have is, I'm pausing because I know we're not supposed to use names.
No, you can't.
No, I'm not going to use. The existing superintendent is going to be there until November 1st. So the school opening is scheduled for early September. Is the intent of the majority of the board is to not utilize the services of the existing superintendent and bring somebody else in?
I think that's beyond, I think that's not a discussion we can have tonight. That would be personnel, that would be private, and it's not something we can discuss. And I think we made that clear in closed session, that it's not about that. We have to decide, and if we post for anything active, that doesn't mean anything about a time frame necessarily. If we post for an acting superintendent, we can say we will close the posting and we would like resumes before a certain time, but we're not saying when we're moving forward.
I get that, Madam President. My only question is, if we are trying to bring an acting or an interim superintendent to school district, we need to do that sooner than later, because if we want to have that individual take ownership of how the schools are going to be opening, there's not really a lot of time left. My point is, by the time we put an ad out, by the time we conduct interviews, by the time we select a candidate, maybe end of August, beginning of September. So that's where I'm going with the question.
Well, I can only say that we have a superintendent contractually that can open the school. So I'm just going to leave it at that, because that's public record.
May I? Oh, good.
Yes, Ms. Belko.
I think moving now, I happen to agree with Mr. Chiarella's discussion. I think moving now allows us to give an opportunity to choose who might be the best candidate that comes forward and says, I'd be interested. And with that, it allows us an opportunity to do some transition planning and be able to move forward with what works we've put into place, what works that we would like to make sure go into place, and work with the outgoing superintendent at the time.
Exactly. That's fine. Mr. Chiarella?
Yeah, thank you. So the point, from my perspective, the point for posting now for an active/interim, active or interim, would be to see who we have available, right, internally and externally. I know we did this before, and we received a few different resumes from candidates, but there may be more now. I mean, a lot of time's elapsed, so there may be other candidates in the district, and maybe out of district, that are interested, who have the credentials, and I'd like to see that so that we could have that. If we run into a problem later on where, we decide, and we've had this in the past, where we're doing a superintendent search, and we don't get the candidates that we're really looking for that could fulfill our needs, then we've had to go and do a broader search. In the meantime, we'd need to have somebody who could fill the role and keep some continuity, I think, here in the district, and that would give us the basic candidates to choose from.
Yes, Ms. Bierman?
And I agree with Mrs. Skirby that on the acting posting, I would like to have it included that be limited to that 10 to 14-day period so that we could bring this for robust discussion on August 18th meeting.
Okay, so when the time comes, someone's going to have to make a motion for that. Ms. Siegel?
Hi, so I was just going to say, I don't know what the pool is like. We might need to be flexible. 14 days may not be enough time to get a good candidate pool. We may have to wait till August 31st. So I just ask that maybe if we don't have a good candidate pool, we might need to extend it a little bit longer to get good candidates, because everyone is in the same boat. We're all trying to restart. There may not be people that are ready. They might be waiting a little bit, saying, let's get our schools that we're working on, let's get them going, and then, you know what, maybe I'll switch after. So I love the idea of 14 days if we can get good candidates, but I think we also have to be flexible, being aware of what the timing is right now and what school districts are going through, that we may need to say it might be August 31st or September 1, we want all the applications. So, again, just being a little flexible.
Go ahead, Mr.
You
Rutsky.
want to respond to that?
Go right
So I
ahead.
was just going to echo that, because I'm thinking, it's the next 2 weeks are literally the dog days of summer, and maybe not everybody's keyed into the want ads. And I want to make, my recommendation is to let's not be afraid of an interim, a retired superintendent that maybe came from a large district to South Brunswick and East Brunswick, wherever, that may be interested in running our district for the 3 to 6 months that we need until we find the permanent superintendent that's right for our district. So I get the idea of the temporary acting, which seems, from the way it was explained, the acting is more temporary, whereas the interim is somebody that's retired. Still temporary, but with more experience, maybe a better pool of applicants. So I don't want us to be afraid of that interim title, because you might get a very qualified retired superintendent that only wants to do 3 to 6 months at a time and happy to do it and doesn't usually need benefits. As just a side note, most interim that you hire do not need benefits because they're retired.
They tend to be retired
Right.
people.
So just as a cost savings to the district and the taxpayers.
Okay. Well, so then are we looking to say acting and interim? This is, how broad are we getting, how narrow are we going to get? That's, whoever wants to make a motion is going to, we'll have to narrow that motion into where the board will reach consensus. Yeah. But before we do that, let me just say also to the public and to the board members, it sounds like right now we are going to go out on our own and advertise for these on the available websites and different places where superintendents will see this. So that's a decision we also need to make. If we don't get candidates that we're pleased with, there are options for hiring essentially consultants. We have in the past used New Jersey School Board's superintendent search programs. They have 4 programs. In the past, we have used them twice, and then there were times that the sitting board at the time did not, were not able to fulfill the position with the candidates that were presented by school boards, and we went out to another service. And then there is also, and I'm just saying there's two, there may be more. The Educational Services Commission of New Jersey also has a service. I will send these to all of you. But this is not inclusive of everything. There are far more opportunities for us to get help if we need. So I think probably we should establish in the motion, whoever's going to make a motion and when, that we are going to be be advertising this on our own at this time. So that's one of the aspects of a motion that we're going to need. And again, if that doesn't give us who we're looking for, then we may, at a different discussion, talk about that. Or we may want to use that for a more permanent candidate search.
That was going to be my suggestion.
Yeah.
Michelle, just building up on
Mr.
what Paul
Flori.
Rutsky said, thank you. Well, what Paul Rutsky said, using the resources that we pay membership on an annual basis to the School Board Association, would they have like a roster of folks that are readily available?
No, that is not a resource that we've already paid for. This is a fee for service. School boards, for instance, they have one program for $15,000, another program for $12,500, another program for $7,000, and the last program for $4,000. And they'll give you different options of what they will do for us.
Thank you.
And these other search companies also are for fees. So we're not getting anything from the school board in this case. We would have to pay.
Michelle, on the Educational
Mr.
Services Commission, do they
I'll
also
send
have?
this around.
No, but do they also have it tiered with different options, I think, ESC? It's not a one,
It's
Fit.
not on here.
oh, okay.
So it's something that we will have to, I mean, we can just pass this
Sure.
around for now. And that's, like I said, that's just two out of many.
Okay.
Mr. Chiarella, did you remember the last one, was that Mr. Morosco, was he,
This is who we use.
he was involved in
interim
the
and/or
last one,
permanent.
For which?
for a superintendent
I'm gonna have
search.
to go through, actually. my
He
phone
had,
here.
he had a company that,
Oh,
and Mr.
gotcha.
Morosco was someone who was a superintendent in this district many years ago, way before me.
I agree with Mr. Rutsky in that I think for the acting, that we should do it ourselves, and then when we're looking, for a more permanent, or a permanent replacement, then we could look at services if we're not getting the applicants. But then the dynamics have changed. I mean, the cap has been removed. There's a lot of things that have changed over the last couple of years, which could benefit us.
Well, I thought we were doing two simultaneously. So
Yeah.
if we're going to just try ourselves right now to advertise, that's fine. And then if, like I said, if we don't get a candidate pool that's acceptable,
Yes.
then we can change.
My only point is that we have time for the permanent position. We have time, where the acting, I think we want to make sure we have people, we see what the interest is, and we gather up those names.
Well, I mean, when we say we have time, I would like to think that we should also consider consistency. We should also consider a disruption in operations. So I would like to see us agree on some process that is as seamless as possible seamless as possible, and not disrupt either the staff, the operations, the students, as little as possible. So we do have to, 90 days is a lot of time, but it's also a short period of time.
Right.
So especially with Mr. Rutsky's point that in August, we may not have people paying much attention. But maybe so, maybe they are. Okay, so what is I'm sorry, Ms. Kirby, go ahead.
Can I make a motion?
I guess so, is anybody, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Education post internally and externally for an acting/interim superintendent the posting should be, list that we would like resumes within 2 weeks. And then the board will deliberate on those at the August 18th meeting and possibly make a decision.
Second it.
Okay, well,
Well, again, you're limiting yourself to now these first 2 weeks
well,
of
wait,
August.
there's a motion, that's a second, now we can discuss it, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay.
So, go ahead.
I like the motion, I would just extend the time frame to the
Well,
end of
I thought we
August.
said if we don't get anything, then we could extend it. We could then at that point say.
Well, let's have the discussion. I mean, we're gonna need a vote, so if everybody's in favor of that time frame, fine. If not, then, go ahead.
The
Mrs.
only thing I'd say, if
Siegel.
we limit it to 14 days, we don't have we're shortchanging ourselves. And I think if we just add into the motion, 14 days, but leave it open where we can extend it, just add something to extend it till the end of the month or a little bit further, something, I don't know.
Madam-
Just,
If we
Who said
don't,
we can't extend it, post it again after the 18th?
exactly.
Maybe that,
One
yeah.
second, Mr.,
Who said we can't post again? After the
so in
18th?
other words, so what you're saying
So if we
is,
don't get anybody, we could post it again.
if we're not happy with,
Right.
Right.
that's a
Madam President,
possibility. Mr. Polari?
typically, that is not a good practice. It just goes to show that we're not getting candidates. I'm speaking about the corporate world, that you put the deadline and you extend the deadline, or you take the ad out and put the ad back in. We make the decision right now, whether it's going to be 4 weeks or 2 weeks, and we move forward. I'm not in favor of putting maybe we'll just extend it later proposal. I feel that that's not going to be good for the district.
You have a motion?
Well, we have a motion on. Go ahead, Karen.
So if we put the thing for the 2 weeks, the point is we're going to come to that August 18th meeting and deliberate on it, and we could come out of that meeting with a motion that says we need to start all over again, that we didn't land anywhere on the acting or interim. We're not under any obligation because we're posting that we're going to make a move on the 18th. We're just going to harvest the applicants we get in these 14 days and deliberate.
There should be something in that motion as to what we're looking for, a job description and our parameters. Wouldn't you suggest, would you be willing to amend that to put some parameters in there?
Should be based on the existing.
Sure, based on the existing, the previous job description of acting superintendent,
And then subject to the attorney
subject to the attorney review, yes.
so that would, yeah, put that in there.
You need an agreement from the person who seconded the motion.
Right.
I agree.
You agree, Mr. Chiarella? Okay. Shall we, is everyone,
Can you just
Is it a discussion?
repeat the final?
All right, so we have agreed to post acting, internal, external, interim superintendent for 2 weeks. We'll be reviewing the resumes by the closed session, August 18th. And based on the existing superintendent job description. And what was the last one that we added?
Based on the existing.
attorney.
Right.
Oh, okay, so, and
Attorney
the attorney
review.
will review all the
Mhm.
resumes before we get it.
okay. Anything else? Shall we call the,
I want to ask for a correction. It was the attorney to review the job description,
yes.
not to review all the applicants.
Yes,
Not reviewing the resumes?
the job
No,
description.
the job description, before it gets posted. Is that it? Shall we call that?
Is that it?
Okay. Read it again, please.
So agreed to post acting, internal, external, interim superintendent for 2 weeks. The board will review, deliberate by August 18th in closed session. It's based on the existing job description, and the attorney will review the job description before it goes out to post.
Is that correct?
Yes, deliberate and possibly appoint at the
Well, I don't,
August 18th meeting.
I don't know that you need that
No.
last one.
You could just do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's going to be up to the board at the time.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Okay, you ready? Ms. Belko?
Yes.
Ms. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Pelori?
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky?
Yes.
Ms. Siegel?
Yes.
Ms. Skirby?
Yes.
And Madam President?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that is for the acting.
Does he vote also? He
Oh,
He did.
Did you,
Sorry,
did
missed
you-
it. He said yes.
yes, did you vote?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's for acting. Do I have a motion to post for a more permanent superintendent search?
So moved.
Okay? That's a first, that's first. Well, I wanted somebody else to make the motion, or is it?
That's what I did. I made the motion.
Okay, good. All right, so do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Same parameters as the first one, except for the date.
Dates.
The job description, the review of the job description, going with the job description of previous superintendent searches, a review of that job description by the attorney, and removing the date
Okay.
for candidates
For permanent,
for permanent.
full-time
Right.
chief school administrator.
Acceptable?
Yes.
Anybody want to discuss that? Did you second?
Does this have to include where the resumes are submitted to, or that's just part of the posting and nothing we have to
I think that's
have
just
here?
procedural.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And that's probably part of the job description as well. If there is any inconsistency or anything, we will have our attorney review it. And if it's egregious, then we might have to postpone it to the next meeting, but I doubt that that's going to happen. We'll make sure that procedurally, the protocol is correct. Okay, any discussion? Roll call, Mr. Nicotinsky.
So to post for permanent search, same parameters, and removing the date for the resumes, right?
Yes, and same parameters as the other one with the attorney reviewing
Okay.
the job description.
Okay, Ms. Belko?
Yes.
Ms. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Pelori?
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky?
Yes.
Ms. Siegel?
Yes.
Ms. Skirby?
Yes.
And Madam President?
Yes. Okay, that satisfies our closed session resolutions. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, does anyone want to bring up anything else as a new board business? It's not on the agenda, but if anyone just wants to speak to anything.
I just want to make it noted that Mr. Tufano was here this evening. I don't
Yeah.
want him to get that he wasn't here.
No, he was here.
Okay. No, I know. I
In
just
the
want to make sure
initial
it's in the
call.
minutes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, then the next scheduled board meeting is August 18th at 7 o'clock in this building. And that will do it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Pelari, Mr. Rutsky, second. We are adjourned. Thank you all for your time
Thank
and
you.
energies.